The answer comes back. For most people, that's the end of it. It looks reasonable. It does what was asked, so they take it and move on. But some people do something different the moment the answer appears. They pause. Not because it's wrong. They ask it again, not for a new answer, but to see it from another angle. They argue back. They take what came back and push on it, question it, sometimes throw most of it away. From the outside, it looks like they're not using the tool right, like they're making it harder than it needs to be. But somehow, their output is better. Their thinking is sharper. Same access, same tool, same answer on the screen. But one person treated it like the end of something, and the other treated it like the start. Here's what's easy to assume, that the difference is preparation, that some people think more carefully before they ask anything, that they're more thoughtful going in. That's a different story. This isn't about before. For most people, the moment the answer arrives is where the interaction ends. It looked reasonable, it did what was asked, so they took it. Not carelessly, just efficiently. The exchange felt complete. But for some people, that's where something else begins. The answer isn't the end of the exchange. It's the opening move. They read it the way you'd read a first draft from a colleague. Useful, but not final. Something to respond to, not something to accept. And that one shift, treating the output like a position, not a conclusion, changes everything that happens next.
Before we begin, if you value quiet, thoughtful content like this, subscribing helps this channel grow and makes it possible to keep creating videos without noise or hype. Thank you for being here. Now, let's begin.
So what does that actually look like? Not in theory, in practice. The answer comes back. And instead of moving on, they do one of a few things. They compare it to what they already believed and notice where it disagrees. Not to dismiss it, to find the disagreement, because that's where something interesting usually is. They push back on it, not aggressively, just, wait, why this and not that? And sometimes the answer holds up. Sometimes it doesn't. Either way, they learn something they wouldn't have learned by accepting it. They notice when something sounds right, but means nothing. The kind of sentence that's technically correct and says almost nothing. Most people skim past those. These people stop on them. And sometimes they use the answer not to get information, but to see their own thinking from the outside. To notice what they assumed, what they didn't ask, what angle they didn't consider. It doesn't require a different tool. Here's what's actually being built every time someone does this. Not more information, not even better answers. Something quieter. Every time you compare an answer to what you already believed and notice the gap, you're training something. Not the AI, yourself. The part of you that can sense when something is slightly off. When a sentence sounds confident, but is built on nothing. When an argument has all the right words, but doesn't actually connect. That sense doesn't come from being told what's wrong. It comes from noticing it yourself, over and over, in small, low-stakes moments that don't feel like anything at the time. This is what judgment actually is. not a rule you learned. 1,000 small corrections that taught you what doesn't add up before you could explain why. And the people pulling ahead right now aren't doing it with better prompts. They're doing it with more reps of catching something that almost slipped by. Here's why most people don't end up here. It's not that they don't care about getting better. It's that the tool is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's removing friction. The moment between asking and knowing, that used to be where you sat, uncertain, working something out. Now, it's instant. And friction, by definition, feels like the thing you're supposed to avoid. So when the answer arrives smooth and complete, moving on doesn't feel like missing something. It feels like the system working correctly, which it is. But growth, the kind that builds judgment, taste, the ability to sense what's off, that growth has always required a small amount of friction. Not struggle, not difficulty for its own sake, just enough resistance that something has to engage. And that's the part. The smooth answer quietly removes. Not on purpose, it's just not what it's optimized for. The people pulling ahead aren't avoiding the smoothness. They're adding the friction back, on purpose, in small amounts, right where it used to happen naturally.
If this feels familiar so far, not as information, but as something you've been dealing with, we keep a growing collection of prompts, tools, and simple frameworks designed to help you think more clearly, start more easily, and work better in this environment. We add to it over time. Nothing overwhelming, just practical resources you can return to when you need them. If you want access, you will find it in the description. Now, let's continue.
Here's what this actually turns into over time. Not just cleaner output, not just sharper responses, something that changes how every answer lands. These people become harder to impress, not in a cynical way. It's just that fluency stops being convincing on its own. A response can sound confident, well-structured, polished, and they'll still notice when there's nothing underneath it. Most people read that kind of response and feel reassured. These people read it and feel a small gap. Not because they're suspicious, because they've spent enough time noticing the difference between something that sounds right and something that is right. That the gap is just visible to them now. It's not a skill they perform, it's how things look to them. And that shift from being persuaded by fluency to seeing past it isn't something you can borrow. It's built one small noticing at a time. And once it's there, it doesn't just apply to AI. It applies to everything that sounds finished before it's actually true. The next time an answer arrives, are you finishing or starting? The advantage was never about using AI more. More questions, more tools, more hours with the tool open. That's not where the gap comes from. The gap comes from what happens in the 3 seconds after the answer appears. Whether something in you stays awake, or whether the exchange quietly closes itself down. Most of the time, nothing forces that choice. The answer is good enough. The moment passes, and it's easy not to notice that a choice was even there. But it was. And it's there again. Every time. Not a bigger decision. The same small one. Take it or open it. End it or start it. And there's something underneath this worth going further into. Because it's not just about how you read an answer. It's about what happens to everything you think you already know when nothing ever pushes back on it. That's where this goes next.
If you made it this far, it means this topic matters to you. In the next video, we continue building on this with clearer understanding, practical perspective, and ideas you can actually use. Following the channel really helps us keep developing content like this and adding more resources over time. The next video continues from here. You can watch it now.